Buttonville Cemetery had its origins in 1830 when John Button, the owner of this land, donated the property here for a church and a cemetery. Although the first burial was actually 5 years younger, when a Francis Helmke, only age 2, was buried on the property. But John Button was a United Empire loyalist who came to Canada very early 1800s or just pre-1800s and was entitled to property here and received a grant of 200 acres of land. And he is noted for his contribution to the military world here during the War of 1812. And we will have a look at that particular monument to him. But there was a church here, a Wesleyan Methodist church. The church had an iron fence along the front, but in the union between the Presbyterians and the Methodists in 1925, then the church was closed and the congregation moved down to Brown's Corners Church. And eventually the church was torn down and actually became a garage over in Unionville. Now this is the memorial stone to Major John Button, who died in November 1861. Now Major John Button is noted for the fact that he got approval in 1812 to create a mounted unit. And he was active with that unit in the War of 1812. Now that unit that he created at that time is considered the origins of the Governor General's Horse Guards that is still active today. Now, about 3 years ago, we did do a plaquing ceremony here with a special plaque that says War of 1812 Veteran. And it's created as part of the bicentennial tribute to the War of 1812. And we're very pleased to have had this plaque added to this monument. This granite monument is to John Button's son, Colonel Francis Button. And he was part of the original group and was active in the War of 1812, but he also was active in opposition to the Fenian raids in 1867. So this is a more modern monument, but Francis also received this plaque at the same time as his father had as a veteran of the War of 1812. This is the monument to Mary, the wife of the Reverend James de Geer, who was one of the pastors here. Now, what's particularly interesting about this stone as well, you'll notice at the top, it has two of the common symbols that were used at that time, the open Bible and the anchor, both fairly common to be built in to these marble monuments. And much of this marble either came from Arnprior, Ontario, or down in the United States in Virginia. But what's interesting about this stone as well, located right beside this, is the monument to Francis, son of James and Mary, they spelled de Geer differently, who died May the 20th, 1838, aged 5 years, 9 months, and 20 days. Also, his brother James, who died on March the 15th, 1838, aged 8 months, 2 days. So there's kind of a sad situation for that family. And it's interesting that at the top of this monument they have carved 2 flowers. And I assume this is intended to be a rose, which kind of has a youthfulness, a beauty to it that they wanted indicated on the monument for their 2 children. This is a stone recognized by the Veterans Department for a member of the RCA who died September 27th, 1972 as a veteran, but they are entitled to those. You'll notice as you walk across this Buttonville cemetery that the names are very diverse. We're located exactly in the kind of the older part. Here is a stone, Jacob White, fairly named Thomas. Kind of an English connection, I guess. There's a Baker and a Powell, they're more recent. But you also notice interspersed with these very old white marble stones, there's a whole new brand of monument that has sprung up with the marble that they have. They come in different colors and different shapes and sizes. Over here is a Burr family. David Burr. Certain way you look at these stones, they almost look blue. Now the Burr family were more recent owners of this Button farm, and their farmhouse is just to the south of the property. But they donated, Russell donated that extra acre along the south side of the driveway. And Newton Burr, that's on this monument, is the son of Klein Burr. He never married. I knew him quite well. And then here is his mother and father, over right next door to each other. So you begin to find these family plots, basically, here in different places. The Hood, Leslie Hood over here. The Hood family was an important family here. Leslie and his wife had the general store in Buttonville. Some people also knew Les, who had a stand at the St. Lawrence Market. And he and his wife were here, are buried here, and his family, his children, are buried on the other side of the driveway. Now this is Leslie's family group of plots all the way along on this line. This is the stone of Russ and Mona Burr, who donated this land here as an addition to the very early Buttonville cemetery lands. And they owned the farm right adjacent to it. Now you'll notice if you look at kind of different kinds of stones, many of these stones in this area now are members of the adjacent Chapel Place Presbyterian Church. Many of their members have bought plots here and they consider it part of theirs. And most of their members are of Egyptian origin, but it is the Presbyterian Church. You'll notice this monument is fairly recent. Joshua Stephen Wood, 2011. He was a member of the 32nd Service Battalion, and he had served in two times in Afghanistan. And then unfortunately he died very suddenly. But they had a full military service here, and he was given full military honors for his burial. But what makes it even sadder, here is his mother, Susan, who was born in this community and grew up here, and she was killed in a car accident driving to work when she hit a deer. And you'll notice it was 16, it was just 5 years after her son died. And so this is the family plot. She was connected to the Tennyson family, and they wanted the burial here under this huge big spruce tree. Now this tree was planted in memory of Joshua shortly after his interment. And they have a plaque here that honors him in loving memory of our son, from Susan and his mother and father. A very fitting tribute that will grow and be here for years to come in memory of their son. This area here actually contains a number of burials of stillbirths. This is where we have been, and there is one marker there, but for very young children, and it's always sad when that happens. Some people like to put some sort of an expression on it. Peter Burke, "Rest in peace, dear Peter. True love is a many-splendored thing." And it is true today that the granite tombstones can be put into any shape virtually, and the technology is there to put pictures on them, different shapes, each having a meaning to the family that is preparing it. Now here's a part of it too. Right next door they have a daycare. So when you come here to this cemetery, you're always hearing children's voices from the daycare next door. This is another interesting addition to a monument. Daniel Barker's name is on this side, but almost unreadable. So the family has put a marker on the edge of it. Daniel Barker died March 17th, 1910. In his 93rd year, but his wife had died 35 years earlier, and then his son in 1864, aged 12 years. So that's a nice tribute to the family that continues to be very readable for this cemetery, where memories are the major item, and this is why people come here to cemeteries, because they have memories of those who have gone before and are buried here. And that's the purpose of putting up a monument of a kind that you can be very proud of.